been very vocal about flood control anomalies. And sa ngayon na napag-uusapan pa lang ay Bulacan, some parts in Oriental Mindoro, and other parts in Eastern Samar. But why do you think hindi pa po napag-uusapan yung bandang Ilocos?
Yun nga ang question ko dyan eh. I have a record. All the records of the Diskaya, the Diskayas have 421 projects all over the country.
421, yeah, that's right.
Ito lang ni BBM. Now, out of this, mga controversy na flood control, 18 billion, yung top 10 among this flood control project. Number 1, Mindoro Occidental. Number 2, Bulacan.
Yeah.
Number 3, Ilocos Norte.
Yes. Number 3 yun, ha?
Ilocos Norte.
Ilan po ba sa Ilocos Norte yung pinag-uusapan natin na nakuha na ng project ng mga Diskaya under their construction firm? Kasi we would like to know, former Governor, kung bakit po hindi pa napag-uusapan yung Ilocos.
Doon nga ako nagtataka. Dahil flood control sila ng flood control, bakit binubugbog lang Bulacan and ano? Unahin sana ang Region 1, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Abra, and kami muna. Dahil yun ang region ni Presidente. To be transparent. Inuhuli, taka nung huli, kasi kagaling ko lang sa Rome, nanonood ako sa TV. Nung binabasa yung mga provinces, binampasa ng Ilocos Norte. So, hindi tama yun eh.
Sa tingin niyo po ba that's parang intentional na hindi muna pag-usapan ng Ilocos because that's the, of course, turf ng Pangulo natin at the moment?
To me, I'm sure it's intentional dahil they're supposed to be transparent. Leadership is transparency, accountability. Dapat ipakita ng Presidente. Una, kanya. Wala.
So you think it's intentional? Bakit po? Sa tingin niyo po ba may tinatago doon ng Pangulo?
Palagay ko, dahil hindi pinupuntahan eh. Huwag na kayong lumayo ka ako, punta kayo sa Ilocos Norte. Marami nga kasing nagsusumbong doon ng mga project na ganoon din. Substandard. May mga picture pa ako pinadala. So, bakit hindi pa naririnig ng Ilocos Norte? Dapat yun muna. Dahil siyang Presidente.
Good morning, I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro. It is Tuesday, the 14th of October, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Following the series of earthquakes in Visayas and Mindanao, there is increased talk about the big one in Luzon. However, DOST Secretary Renato Solidum stated that Metro Manila is still unprepared should this powerful earthquake occur. The House of Representatives has approved on its third and final reading the 6.79 trillion peso budget for the upcoming year. The votes were 287 in favor, 12 against, and 2 abstentions. And Malacanang expressed concern over Davao City Congressman Paulo Duterte's vow of retribution against those behind his father's arrest. The congressman made the statement after the International Criminal Court or ICC rejected former President Rodrigo Duterte's plea for interim release. Welcome to our program Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, Laguna has suspended face-to-face classes in all public and private schools from October 14 to 31 as a precaution against possible earthquakes linked to the West Valley Fault. Governor Sol Aragones said The move was based on data and consultations with disaster officials. She emphasized that student safety comes first, noting that lost school days can be recovered, but lives cannot be replaced. During the suspension, students will shift to online and modular learning.
Ang lilipas na mga araw na walang klase o walang online classes, ay pwede pa nating hamulin yan. Pero ang buhay ng tao, isa lang. Hindi na pwedeng maibalik pa. Ang sinasabi nga po ng marami, ang bagyo ay pwede mo mapaghandaan. Pero ang lindol, hindi natin alam kung kailan aatake ito.
Department of Science and Technology Secretary Renato Solidum Jr. said that Metro Manila is still not yet prepared for the big one. Here's a report.
Over the past 2 weeks, a series of strong earthquakes has shaken different parts of the country. Among them are the magnitude 6.9 quake in Bogos City, Cebu, and the magnitude 7.4 and 6.8 earthquakes in Manay, Davao Oriental. Department of Science and Technology Secretary Renato Solidum Jr. explained that these recent earthquakes in Cebu and Davao Oriental are unrelated events.
There's no connection. The earthquakes in Davao Oriental were due to movement or subduction of rocks along the Philippine Trench. And the motion of the earthquake in Davao Oriental was not one single motion, but two big motions.
Solidum added that doublet or twin quakes, like those in Davao, are rare but not unusual.
It's not common, yeah, it's rare, but essentially this is caused by asperity or blockage as the fault will move, no? If a sliver of a big rock is lodged in between the fault, then the motion will not be continuous.
These recent earthquakes have reminded the public of what experts have long warned Metro Manila about, the big one, a possible magnitude 7.2 earthquake along the West Valley Fault that could cause a massive destruction across the capital. Despite years of preparedness campaigns, Solidum said Metro Manila is still not ready.
As our latest studies still indicate a significant number of casualty of around 30,000 in Metro Manila alone, and additionally, if we consider the potential casualties in provinces surrounding Metro Manila, it can total up to 50,000.
He stressed that many structures remain unsafe, built without engineers, without permits, and without following the building code.
Fortunately, if we have houses that are not built, supervised by engineers, we call those non-engineered buildings, or sometimes the materials used are not standard, then we can see the effect of strong earthquake. We can see damaged houses and buildings.
Solidum urged both local governments and residents to work together, rebuilding safer homes and strengthening communities before disaster strikes.
So we have a significant number of non-engineered buildings in Metro Manila. These are typically the informal settlements. And I've been saying that we need to focus on the reconstruction of houses so that people would be safer during major earthquake events.
Solidum added that Filipinos can now use Hazard Hunter PH and How Safe Is My House, digital tools that help assess earthquake risks and check the structural integrity of homes.
Now, amid the widening controversy over flood control projects, senators turned their attention to the Commission on Audit, the very agency tasked to safeguard government funds. Senate Finance Chairman Win Gatchalian grilled COA officials on how they are monitoring infrastructure spending. Here's the report.
Senate Finance Committee Chair Win Gatchalian questioned the Commission on Audit about its actions to monitor infrastructure projects amid controversies surrounding flood control projects. According to COA, even some of their own resident auditors assigned to these projects are now being investigated.
Yun pong fraud audit na ginawa, na isinasagawa po. Part of it po is yun pong fraud auditors would also look at the negligence or complicity ng ating pong mga resident auditors po dun sa baba.
Cordoba said they will conduct a reshuffling of auditors and surprise inspections in various field offices. COA will also require commissioners and employees to submit a declaration of conflict of interest following the revelation that the wife of COA Commissioner Mario Lipana allegedly obtained government contracts. Senator Gatchalian looked for Lipana during the hearing, but he was said to be on medical leave abroad until October 30.
We can submit po his medical certificate, but ano lang po siguro, ang treatment po siguro ito would be para sa inyo na lang po muna.
Cordoba also admitted that COA is undermanned. In Bulacan's 1st District, where several anomalous flood control projects were uncovered, only 2 COA auditors are assigned. Hence, Cordoba appealed to the Senate to help increase their manpower. Gatchalian, meanwhile, reminded the COA that it is their duty to guard public funds and ensure that no government project becomes a source of corruption. In the end, the Senate committee approved COA's 15 billion peso budget for 2026. Last week, the Senate also revisited reports on allegedly overpriced farm-to-market roads, which Senator Gatchalian once investigated, especially in the Bicol region, the bailiwick of former Congressman Zaldico, and in Eastern Visayas, home province of late the 1st District Representative Martin Romualdez. However, House Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno warned that this might be a demolition job against Romualdez.
I think malungkot ang timing kasi the former speaker is going to speak before the independent commission. So parang may konting demolition na nangyayari dito Parang gustong I think there is scapegoating that is going on Nagtuturuan, and then people are pointing to other people so that they will be able to escape the responsibility. Ang sa akin lang, follow the money. Di ba? Ano yung nangyari sa insertion? Sino may kagagawan nun?
Now, in other news, the camp of Senator Cheese Escudero has asked the COMELEC for an extension until Wednesday to answer a show-cause order over an alleged campaign donation from a contractor. The senator was originally set to appear before the COMELEC on Monday to explain his side on the issue. COMELEC Chairman George Garcia clarified that Escudero's appearance is not mandatory as the proceedings are still part of the poll body's case build-up process. Once Escudero's response is filed, the case will be forwarded to the Political Finance and Affairs Department for further evaluation.
Hindi po purpose ni COMELEC ang pagtatanggal nung nakaupo na, nakapag-assume na at nakapanumpa na. Ang purpose po ni COMELEC base sa Omnibus Election Code ay ang pagsasampa ng kasong kriminal o ang pag-determine kung may kasong kriminal ba na nakomit yung mga respondents.
Now, don't go away. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Good morning, I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro, and here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. The House of Representatives has approved the proposed 6.7 trillion peso national budget for 2026. A total of 287 lawmakers voting in favor, 12 against, and 2 abstaining, even as concerns linger over the inclusion of unprogrammed funds. Speaker Boji D said the measure ensures transparency and accountability, while Appropriations Chair Micaela Swansing called this year's budget process unprecedented, citing reforms that opened proceedings to civil society observers. Still, critics said Congress missed the call of the times. Akbayan Representative Chel Jokno, who voted no, said the budget fails to support education, improve health care, or end corruption.
Hindi sapat ang suporta sa ating kabataan, lalo na sa gitna ng lumalalang krisis sa edukasyon. Ayon mismo sa DepEd, kulang tayo ng 165,000 classrooms. Ngunit sa 2026 budget, at most 25,000 classrooms lang ang maaaring maitayo sa susunod na taon. Sa madaling salita, the 2026 GAB, sa ilalim nitong GAB ay dehadong-dehado pa rin ang kabataang Pilipino.
Now, joining us today is Akbayan Party List Representative Chel Jokno, one of the 12 lawmakers who voted against the proposed national budget for 2026. Good morning and welcome to the program, Kong.
Good morning, Angela. Good morning to all your listeners.
I guess, Kong, the question here is, did you expect this to happen? Because bago pong inyong botohan, meron din pong mga statement ang Malacanang through their spokesperson na hindi po pwedeng magkaroon ng zero na budget no, for unprogrammed funds.
Nakakapagtaka yung sinabi ng Malacanang. Previously, in an interview, the President, this is about early August, said that foreign projects and other similar projects should be part of the regular budget. Kaya yung nangyari, ilagay pa rin sa program funds almost over yung foreign projects. It is something that shouldn't have happened.
Right. Ang sinasabi po kasi nila no, and other lawmakers na importante daw po itong unprogrammed funds kasi maaaring gamitin sa mga emergency purposes.
Well, tama naman yun. The unprogrammed funds are for standby yan. But the question is, why will you put big ticket items like foreign assistance projects, which are, pre-planned, alam na natin lahat, alam ng gobyerno kung saan gagamitin ito. Why would you put that in the unprogrammed appropriations when it should clearly be in the regular budget?
Exactly. All right, so do you believe that ito po talagang unprogrammed funds as also the finance watchdogs witness during the deliberation, standby pork lang ito?
That's the problem with putting huge amounts of money in unprogrammed appropriations. The temptation is very big to abuse your discretion. Kasi ang nangyayari dyan, the unprogrammed funds are left to the discretion of the DBM and the Executive Department in terms of when and how and where they will go. And that is, to us, to me, a violation of the power of the purse of Congress and also an invitation to use those funds irresponsibly.
Right. Pero of course, ang Malacanang would always say na may sufficient safeguard naman to ensure itong mga funds na to na without specific lines will not be, used for anything else. What do you have to say for that po?
Madali lang sabihin yun. But that requires now that we have to be very, very careful in monitoring how those funds will be spent. And all of this could have been avoided if it was put in the regular budget that they highlighted.
Pero kung pardon the ano po no, perhaps you can enlighten us ano, kung sakasakali po kunyari hindi pa po tapos itong botohan natin at nalagay po yung mga sinasabi natin for emergency purposes and to program funds, are you still in favor of having unprogrammed funds kahit konti lang po na amount, not as this big?
Yes, kung kakaunti lang, just like before, dati naman, meron naman talagang program funds, but this was very small amount. If that's the case, then, the dangers that we see would not be present. Unfortunately, over the last several years, the amounts of program funds have really ballooned into hundreds of billions of pesos, and that's the big concern, really.
So what is a fair amount po sa inyo for the unprogrammed funds, if ever?
That would depend on the contingencies that the government is looking at. And by the way, we do have a separate contingent fund.
Right.
And which is meant to cover those kinds of contingencies. Meron din tayong pang disaster at calamity. So if we're talking about leaving some funds in the unprogrammed appropriations, I would say that shouldn't be more than maybe a billion or even less than a billion pesos. I don't understand why we have put hundreds of millions unprogrammed appropriations.
Pero if ever po ba, Kong, hindi pa po kayo nawawala ng pag-asa because if I remember it correctly, sa Senado po, through their Senate President, Tito Soto, said na willing po siyang tanggalin po itong mga unprogrammed funds na ito.
Yes, doon na ngayon pupunta ang labanan. That's where we're going to find out how committed the Senate is to doing that. And I hope that they push for this.
I remember kong kasi some LP members questioned the constitutionality of itong unprogrammed funds na ito last year, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us also ano po ba yung nakalagay po talaga doon sa constitution natin regarding this?
It's very clear under the Constitution. The power of the purse belongs to Congress. It cannot be delegated to the executive department, and any form of delegation would really be violative of the Constitution. At yun yung nagiging problema natin sa program fund dahil kumbaga pinauubayan ng Kongreso sa executive department kung saan at paano at kailan gagamitin itong fund.
Right. You also criticized the budget for underfunding health and PhilHealth po, no? So, what consequences might ordinary Filipinos face because of that gap?
Malaki pa rin ang gastos ng ordinaryong mamamayan pagdating sa healthcare. According to the studies, it reaches about 50% of their out-of-pocket expenses. And that's really too much. That's a crime. We have to address this problem by giving more funds to our PhilHealth agency. Hindi lang naman yun, even in terms of education, while we have increased the budget for education, hindi pa rin sapat to address the problem of classroom shortages and other issues that we have in our education crisis.
Yeah, exactly. It's good that you mentioned that po, no? Kasi you mentioned nga po, only 25,000 classrooms will be built out of a shortage of 165,000. So, ano po bang impact nito sa education crisis natin? At this point po ba, through the budget deliberation, maide-deliver po ba yung mga pangangailangan na yon dun sa binigay po na budget sa education?
Yun nga po ang problema. Parang di nakikita yung sobrang malalang problema pagdating sa crisis sa edukasyon. We are in a crisis mode that requires that we really more money budget into education.
Alright, so tingin niyo po ba ngayon itong 2026 gap na to still open to corruption?
Well, dahil yun nga, because the program appropriations are there and are such a big amount, it's vulnerable to misuse and to abuse. yung isang bagay na kailangan natin bantayan.
Alright. So what happens now? Antayin na lang po muna tayo ng BICAM. Ganun po.
So far, sa Kongreso, online side, tapos na yung budget po. Now, we go to the Senate and then later the FICAM. At meron din kami panawagan na sana buksan ang FICAM. We hope that this can be done because ang daming agam-agam sa nangyari ng last budget na baka naman doon pa karoon ng insertion sa iba't ibang budget.
That's true. But were you satisfied po during the budget deliberations in the House of Representatives na ngayon daw po ay it was really open na to several advocates, financial watchdogs, civil society groups?
Well, first of all, I think that the representatives really worked so hard and did a lot of things for the budget. But at the same time, I hope that this can be institutionalized and that the openness to civil society groups will be complete, meaning that all the processes will be open and that they will be able to attend and have access to the documents.
Right.
Yung some issue rin that we all face is the haste or the speed at which we have to go over all these documents. Very often we don't really have enough time, and even the civil society groups don't have sufficient time to pore over every line item.
Pero it's good po that they were able to pinpoint also yung sinasabi po ninyo tungkol sa unprogrammed funds. I think one of their members have spoken to the media and said that 200 plus billion nga po ay nakikita nilang standby pork lang ito.
Tama yun. At malaking tulong din ng mga civil society groups bilang mga watchdog. I really value their inputs and their observations.
Alright, with that, I think antayin na lang po natin yung iba pa pong development dito sa ating usapin ng budget. But we hope maklear po ito sa bicameral conference. But for the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was our Congressman Chel Jokno.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you po. Stay tuned. Morning Materials will be back after a short break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Congressman Kiko Barzaga arrived late to his House ethics hearing on Monday. Barzaga admitted that he stayed up late playing computer games. He is facing allegations of violating the code of conduct for public officials over controversial social media posts. The House Ethics Committee had convened a sub-panel to try to settle the National Unity Party's complaint against him.
Pinangunahan ko na sila, sinabi ko, there is no reconciliation because this is not a personal grievance. Hindi naman sa akin ang insulto. Ang insulto is to the institution.
I prefer not to settle because I want to try to have a hearing and to try to make my defense there kasi mas maganda talaga if we can all air our grievances out and to talk about it.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure is set to file 15 to 20 cases before the Office of the Ombudsman within the next 4 weeks in connection with anomalous flood control projects in the country. ICI Special Advisor and former PNP Chief Rodolfo Azurin Jr. said the commission is validating around 421 suspected ghost projects as part of its ongoing fact-finding mission. He added that formal case build-up will begin next week before the findings are transmitted to the Ombudsman. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice said it is preparing to file cases against contractors Curly and Sara Descaya by next week. However, officials have yet to disclose the specific charges to be filed.
Hindi po kailangan na hintayin hanggang sila po ay handang magbigay ng kanilang salaysay o yung sinasabi ng kanilang abogado na they will tell all. Malalaman lang po natin yan kapag nandiyan na po sa harap ng nag-iimbestiga at i-evaluate din po natin, titingnan natin kung ito po ay sapat na para sila ay may considerang state witness.
The timelines is already set. The people are impatient. If we don't find something satisfactory, we will file the appropriate cases with or without the state witnesses. We will build the cases based on the evidence we have. But what we can assure the Filipino people is that we will only file strong cases.
Later, Representative Martin Romualdez is scheduled to appear before the Independent Commission for Infrastructure today. And for more details, we have mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, is later Representative Martin Romualdez confirmed to appear before the ICI today?
Angela, mula nang inipitahan ng Independent Commission for Infrastructure para dumalo sa pagdinig nito ng Independent Commission for Infrastructure, si dating House Speaker Martin Romualdez ay agad naman ito na kanyang kinumpirma, tinanggap ng kanyang opisina at kinumpirma nga ang pagdating para sa araw na ito. Scheduled siya ngayon na darating dito around 10 a.m. Para nga ipaliwanag kung paano ang naging budget system ng Kamara nang siya ang nanunungkulan bilang House Speaker, maging ang ilan sa mga maanomalyang DPWH flood control projects na napasailalim nga sa paggulong ng budget process ng Kamara. Pero kanina, Angela, mga ilang minuto na rin ay nandito na si Department of Budget Management Secretary Amina Pangandaman, kung saan sinabi niya nga na inimbitahan din siya bilang resource person ng ICI para ipaliwanag kung paano nga ba ang proseso ng ahensya para sa National Expenditure Program o NEP at kung paano nga ba ito nagiging isang ganap na GAA o General Appropriations Act. Ayon sa kanya, ay suportado niya itong nangyayari na transparency na sinasagawa ng Kamara at marahil sa paparating ng mga araw ng Senado para nga sa paggulong ng 2026 budget. Ayon sa kanya, ang ilan sa mga bagay na maaaring tignan ng ahensya ay kung paano nga ba na ipapasok yung ilang mga programa na para sa flood control at yung insertion nga na sinabi naman ng Kamara na hindi raw ito illegal basta dumadaan sa tamang proseso at kung paano nga ba nagaganap itong mga amendment na ito. Wala na so far na ibang resource person tayong inaasahan bukod lamang kay DBM Secretary Amina Pangandaman at kay dating House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Angela.
Okay. Bukod nga dito kay dating House Speaker Romualdez na kanyang appearance today, meron pa ba tayong other developments that we should watch out for, Arles?
So far, Angela, ang pagpa-file ng ilang mga posibleng recommendation ng filing ng ICI sa Ombudsman sa mga paparating na araw, hinggil pa rin doon sa 421 ng mga suspected ghost flood control projects sa iba't ibang bahagi ng Pilipinas, kung saan karamihan nga dyan ay nasa Luzon. At bukod pa dyan, patuloy naman daw ang investigasyon ng ICI at ating aabangan kung mananatili pa nga bang pribado ang pagdinig nito patungkol sa mga maanomalyang flood control projects ng ating pamahalaan. Angela.
All right, thank you so much. That was our mobile journalist, Arles de los Santos. Now, don't go away. More matters to discuss after the break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Malacanang is reminding Davao City 1st District Representative Paulo Duterte that the Philippines is a civilized society governed by law. This came after the younger Duterte warned he would go after those who allegedly kidnapped his father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, following the International Criminal Court's rejection of the elder Duterte's bid for interim release. Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro said Filipinos should not live in fear or under threats, stressing that the rule of law must prevail.
Unang-una po, hindi po dapat tayo mabuhay sa mga pagbabanta. Tayo po ay nasa sinasabing civilized society at wala po tayo sa isang barbaric world. So dapat po tayong tumugon kung ano po ang rule of law at hindi po tayo dapat natatakot o lagi na lamang nabubuhay sa pananakot.
Meanwhile, supporters of former President Rodrigo Duterte are urging the International Criminal Court or ICC pretrial chamber to be fair and humane in handling his case, stressing that Duterte is still an accused, not a convicted person. Duterte supporter Alvin Sarzate said they remain hopeful the appeals chamber will reverse the denial of Duterte's interim release, expressing confidence in the defense team's arguments. Sarzate also defended Vice President Sara Duterte, saying her remarks on Facebook Live were just a joke and should not have been used by the ICC in its decision. He added that the court should not rely on casual online statements and must focus instead on due process and justice.
Pero para po sa akin, dapat po ang tingnan ng korte is on whether or not the human rights of the former president as an accused in this matter should be highlighted. Kasi naman, again, let me press on the fact na hindi naman niya tinatalikuran. He is even happy or he's not even afraid to face these charges hurled against him. You are supposed to be the International Criminal Court, and we are talking about a life of an accused, not a convicted person. So I think they should have exercised more careful approach.
And to discuss the latest developments in former President Rodrigo Duterte's case at the International Criminal Court, we are joined by ICC Assistant to Counsel, Attorney Cristina Conti. Good morning, Attorney. Thanks for joining.
Yes, good morning.
Alright, so siguro una muna, ano yung reaction mo, Attorney, dito sa supporter ni former President Rodrigo Duterte na si Alvin Zarzate, yung mga comments niya that VP Sara's remarks should not be used as a basis for the ICC's interim release decision?
Well, I think this is misguided. First, because the ICC looks at the entirety of the context. Yung detention niya, ang standard of proof is that it does appear that detention is necessary. And with that, everything within the context is included. Hindi lang yung sasabihin na nating akusado. Actually, right now, Angela, the term is suspect. He's a suspect, not even an accused, kasi there are no charges yet. But nonetheless, there is a finding that there is reasonable basis to believe that he has committed crimes. And it appears to be necessary that he should stay in detention. This appearance goes into what he says, what he does, and what all those around him do. And to be frank, that includes Duterte supporters. Although it is not hinted at or mentioned in the decision, the actions of the Duterte supporters are also concerning to the ICC. And it's very crucial what they say. Yung isang punto na I would even say this particular supporter has parroted and carried is that Duterte has been kidnapped. And for the ICC, that is an indication that they are repudiating the jurisdiction of the ICC. Kasi pag sinabi mong kinidnap ka, edi kapag nakalaya ka, kahit temporarily, hindi mo nagugustuhin bumalik pa dun sa nangidnap sa'yo. And therefore, this indicates that they do not recognize the legitimacy of the proceedings. They have to keep their story straight.
So do you also believe, Attorney, na yung mga interviews and statements of the Duterte camp, specifically the Vice President and of course other siblings, ay nag-backfire din yan doon sa naging desisyon ng ICC?
Oh yes, and rightfully so. The ICC will consider everything, as I mentioned. The entire context will be considered, and considering that the president or former president was allegedly in cahoots with Sara Duterte in the Davao Death Squad. Si Sara Duterte ay hindi lang naman simpleng mamamayan o simpleng anak na ngayon lang nakita. Siya ay tinuturing nga na prinsesa ng DDS. For a time, she or Rodrigo Duterte was in charge of Davao where the killings were happening. Within the scope of the ICC case, that's 2011 to 2016, sila ang namamayagpag dyan, Vice Mayor or Mayor ng Davao, either one of them. At yung participation in the DDS is by virtue of your position, not only as mayor or vice mayor, but your position in the Duterte family. And therefore, the position right now, the ICC also mentioned this, the position of Baste Duterte is crucial as well. As vice mayor of Davao, he would also have access to the same resources as they had before and to the DDS, Davao Death Squad. Wag na po tayong siguro malilito kasi they tried to subvert the idea of the DDS na Duterte diehard supporters ito.
Right.
We're talking here about the Davao Death Squads who committed the crime. But also the ICC, in the question for interim release, will have to look into the acts of the Duterte diehard supporters as well. Kasi yung the mere fact that you could joke na itakas na lang si Duterte is really concerning. Kasi ang daming supporter na nandyan at 24 hours yata nakapalibot sila dun sa detention facility.
Right. And I think at some point, kasi di ba parang nagsabi rin si Vice President Sara Duterte no, na bawal na kami magbigay ng mga interviews. And I think that was an advice from their counsel because of, eto nga, maaring gamitin against them.
Precisely, so they knew that. Actually, I would even say that the jail guards would have told them, this is in the regulations. Whoever visits a detainee would have to be kumbaga briefed as to what you can do, what you can talk about, etc. I'm pretty sure they knew that they could not discuss things that were mentioned during the detention. In the earlier videos, binabanggit na nila yun eh.
Right,
Na,
right,
sorry,
right,
hindi namin pwedeng pag-usapan.
Oo.
Pero sasabihin ko sa inyo, okay siya. Later on, naging absoluto na halos. Na parang
Yeah.
hindi na namin pwedeng pag-usapan. So it's
Yeah.
not just the legal team. It's also the detention
Right.
officials. Which is also why, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring up the issue of
Go
Hanilet
ahead.
Avancenia, who was, I think, banned from leaving. Well, Attorney Kaufman, Nicholas Kaufman is correct. He has no power to ban a person from visiting a detainee. It's only the detainee himself who can ban someone, or the detention facility officials if they see this person as a threat to security.
Right. So if ever niyan, of course, hindi naman si President Duterte magbaban sa kanya. It's the facility, most probably. Right? Oo.
Ako, i-open ko muna yung possibility. Kumbaga, hindi ko alam eh. So
Pero
the only
talking-
people who could have banned her.
Right, right. Pero why do you think, though, this I will have to ask you again, and I'm sure, why do you think that they know the legalities of everything, of the consequences of the things that they would say and do, pero somehow they would still push yung brand pa rin nila na, hindi kami susunod?
Well, one, they have to play to an audience. They have to play to their supporters who are always expecting an update when they leave the detention facility. They're outside asking for updates. They have to talk to their supporters all over the world. And second, this is the mark, and why do they say this? This is the mark of entitlement. Kung alam mong hindi ka naman mananagot dun sa mga sinasabi mo, kung alam mong hindi naman, kahit pasabihin ko to, hindi naman ako papakialaman or hindi naman ako maaabot. Kumbaga parang untouchable. Ganun kasi ang kalakaran sa Davao, ganun ang kalakaran sa Pilipinas nung naging presidente na sila. Kahit ano pang sabihin nila, kahit magmura sila. At ito nga dito kay Pulong Duterte, kay Congressman, talagang pagbabanta. Sanay sila na nakakalusot sila. They can get away with anything. Kaya katulad ng mga Nepo babies, 'di ba? Na hindi nila alam. There is a lack of self-awareness. Hindi nila alam kung anong gagawin after the incident. At in fact, yung iba pa, biglang nakikita mo, nag-Japan pa pala. Their only world, their only universe is that of entitlement. And therefore, they're having a hard time adjusting to the new circumstances.
Okay, so, well, we're talking about backfire, no? Ito, idagdag ko pa yung, nakasama ba yung Senate resolution also, urging the ICC na i-house arrest na lamang ito si former President Rodrigo Duterte due to humanitarian reasons?
The Senate resolution was discussed on September 30th, I think, end of the week. Pero apparently, the decision was dated September 26th. 2 weeks after lang natin nalaman. And I would say it was not even considered in the decision. But now I'm thinking it could go, or it was trying to go into the appeal. But unfortunately, again, I would have to raise ang Senado sa ICC. Lalo na, they have no relations. The Senate is in the legislative branch of a non-member state.
Right.
Paano yan officially mapapaabot? And then second, the contents itself is problematic. Does it talk about facts? Is there any medical report attached to the resolution? There is none. So clearly, this is just mere political posturing, and therefore cannot be considered when the court is considering facts and evidence.
Okay, let's say hypothetically, sabihin ng Senate or ng Pilipinas natin through its Senate, balik tayo sa ICC and gawin nila ito through their appeal. Would that matter at that point?
No, not even, because this is a case, and the only parties to be heard are
Right.
the prosecution, the defense, and the parties. The victims. Technically, the member states could also weigh in through the Assembly of States parties, and the only question to be asked of members, in a sense, would be, would you be willing to host him? If the Senate statement or sense for house arrest also includes a commitment from the Philippine government that we are willing to host him, that we are willing to abide by the conditions, and if we break any of the conditions, we will take on the consequences,
Okay.
then maybe it will be considered. But as of now, the Senate appears to be acting like a defense counsel even for Rodrigo Duterte.
Right, right. Alright, so what happens now, attorney? Alam ko may appeal pa rin sa kabila ang defense. Is it likely, meron pa tayong mga precedent before na yung ganitong mga klaseng desisyon ay na-overturn?
I would say malabo na. In fact, I would say that the defense has moved on to the other issue. They're actually focusing on the other issue, which would that be of competency, yung fitness to stand trial.
Right.
Kaya dapat daw ma-adjourn na yung proceedings. So they're now focusing on the adjournment request, and the court is now currently qualifying experts. In a sense, this one is mas malaki yung premyo, kumbaga. This one has weightier consequences dahil kapag sinabing unfit to stand trial, the proceedings will be adjourned. The case will be archived. At technically, hindi siya lalaya. Yun naman yun eh. Medyo may problema lang dahil kung sabihin na hindi siya fit to stand trial, lalaya na ba siya? Hindi rin. Kasi may problema siya. And he would have to be committed to either a hospice, a hospital, or a care home probably para masagot yung kalagayan niya. At sa totoo, dahil yung fitness to stand trial, it's not a medical term. Di ba? Fit to go back to work, yun pa yung mas alam ko na pwede mong kunin sa doktor. Eksperto ang makapagsasabi kung unfit to stand trial ka. At kung ganon, you will have to be checked, sabi ng ICC, every 120 days if you continue to be unfit to stand trial because things could change.
Right.
Kaya you will still be under the custody of the ICC, probably under more relaxed circumstances. Pero nonetheless, whether
Hindi siya
interim
makakauwi pa
release
rin.
or unfit to stand trial, still to be monitored by the ICC.
It's good that you clear that up, attorney. Of course, kasi syempre, yung ibang mga supporters ang iniisip nila na kapag okay na napatunayan na yun nga, meron nga siyang, kumbaga hindi na siya fit to stand trial, pwede na siya makauwi dito. Pero what happens now? When do we know? Diba? When do we know the decision ng ICC? It's either kung fit siya sa trial or hindi.
Wala akong control dyan. But the steps would be, one, they're qualifying the experts. There's the prosecution has agreed na, ito, okay kami sa ganitong experts. Can we have a number na odd numbered? So, 3 or 5, huwag naman sigurong 7. Baka naman, sobrang dami na nun.
Right.
So, I think they're looking at 3 or 5. The defense has also weighed in. Victims have also weighed in. The medical officer of the ICC detention facility has also weighed in. Here's the thing. So the experts will look at diagnostics. So exams, lab results ni Duterte. He has 2 at least. The CT scan done in May and June, yung MRI naman. There was also a psychiatrist who looked at him, who has already interviewed him. So pwede na yung tingnan ng expert. But what if the experts say, kulang? Yeah. So there would be a round of diagnostic exams done upon Duterte. That could take time, and then yung results nun, yun yung aaralin ng experts.
Okay.
Again. So,
Medyo
I would say
hindi
it
nga
could
natin.
take months.
Right. So if ever mapupush pa yung trial, if ever by next year pa. Pero while we are waiting for that, are there other arrests that are coming, particularly yung mga nandoon sa case, sila Senator Bato de la Rosa, Senator Bongo?
Well, I would say the one for Senator Bato de la Rosa is long overdue. He should have been arrested. He should have been issued a warrant of arrest at the same time as Duterte. Kasi sila ang ulo ng tokhang. Yung isang nagsasalita, yung isa ang nagsasagawa. Kaya yung kay Bato de la Rosa, it's only a matter of time. The fact that he has also been mentioned in several documents already, not only because of his statements, but because of what he has done, is indicative that the ICC looks at him as a co-conspirator or co-perpetrator also. Ang mollifying naman dyan, na parang, sige, ba't ba nga ba ang tagal? Ang sabi nila, well, in cases or situations, there could be at most, in other situations, up to 6 accused in a particular situation. Kumbaga, what happened in the Philippines, up to 6 accused, kasi that's what happened in other countries. But to take note, there are 16 other cells in the detention facility. Ito, kasya pa kung aabot ng 16 ang akusado sa Pilipinas. Pero yung kay Bato de la Rosa, it's only a matter of time.
So you would say before the year ends, makakakita tayo ng mga arrest warrants?
Well, we hope before the year ends, but there's a complication. It has to be implemented.
Alright.
So kung announcement lang, palagay ko anytime. Pero yung implementation
The how is the question.
Also has to be factored in.
Alright, so I have so much questions for you, but unfortunately we don't have much time. But for the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, ICC Assistant to Counsel, Attorney Cristina Conti. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ingat.
Now, amid a series of earthquakes, the Philippine Red Cross is urging everyone to prepare a go bag. Red Cross Secretary General Gwen Pang said having a ready bag can save lives during disasters when rescue and relief operations may take days to arrive. Each go bag should include canned food, water, first aid supplies, maintenance medicines, hygiene kits, flashlight, and important documents sealed in plastic. Pang also reminded the public to check the bag every 3 to 6 months to replace expired items.
Wala na pong oras. Speed is the name of the game. So very important na grab and go. Bitbitin mo na lang. Yan po yung ating purpose ng paghahanda. So kung hindi, talagang magsasuffer tayo, magugutom tayo, magkakasakit dahil wala tayong extra mga pangailangan pagdating ng emergency.
In sports, the PLDT high-speed hitters kicked off their PVL reinforced conference campaign with a straight sets victory over the Capital One Solar Spikers. Savannah Davidson led the way for PLDT, scoring 22 points with 15 attacks and 7 blocks. The Solar Spikers briefly led 21-20 in the third set, but the high-speed hitters closed with a 5-2 run capped by Davidson's decisive hit. Meanwhile, Choco Mucho stunned a signal in 4 sets despite playing with an all-Filipino lineup without import Anis Smith. Isa Mold, Honey Royce, Tobino, Madi Madayag, and Dindin Santiago Manabat step up to secure the victory and give their team a strong start to the conference. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro, sitting in for Gretchen Ho, Kapatid. We're One News, all sides, all the time.